G'day viewers, fellow gold refiners, gold lovers in general. Welcome back to my series of refining recovery without the use of nitric acid, or with as little as possible used. I hope you are enjoying this series. I'm trying to make as many as I can think of. In the comments, please leave me a request if there's something that you want to see. I may already be in the process of making it, or I may not have thought about it. So let's carry on with another one from the series. G'day viewers, welcome back to another video. I had a challenge put to me by one of my viewers. He said it would be interesting to see exactly how much gold can be got from one computer, because people often say, is it worth doing? How much do you get from a computer? I've heard that said many a time, and I think even when I started I was curious. As you would have seen in my last video, I'm getting very low on acid. I've probably got only about half a litre of nitric left, so I'm going to have to be really cautious and use it as much as I can. Use as little of it as much as I can. So anyway, the idea of today's video would be to get a laptop done. I've got a choice between a Hewlett-Packard and an Asus computer. Doesn't really matter either way. I think they're all going to have about the same. None of these laptops work, so for those who say you should sell things before you scrap them, it doesn't work. So I've got a laptop I can do, and I've got a desktop I can do. So there'll be two different videos, one to see how much gold I can get from a laptop, and one to see how much comes out of a desktop. Now, they're not fancy computers, they're not gaming computers, they're nothing fancy. They're just the average everyday laptop and desktop that people would use, which is good because it gives you an estimate of just an ordinary everyday computer. Now, the trouble I'm having, I'm willing to accept the challenge, but where I see there might be an issue is it's very, very hard to do tiny batches. There's going to be a few ICs, a few BGAs, a few pins, and there's not going to be a large volume of anything. But all together, obviously there will be some gold. It's a matter of how much. But in the process, I'm going to have to do a small batch of pins, and a small batch of plugs, and a small batch of ICs, and so on. I'm going to have to try and find a way to do the ICs and BGAs together. It shouldn't be too hard to do, so that it's not such a small batch. And pins and things like that, I've got some used nitric. I'm going to have to keep using it as long as I can to maximize its use while I've still got some. So I should be okay to do a small batch of pins and plugs. But I'm up to the challenge. So basically I'm going to try and show you guys what can be got from a laptop. So like I said, it's a regular everyday laptop. It is a quite big one. Both of them are the same size. I know that these days you get some pretty small laptops, but this is a quite a good size one. So you've seen what I've got to start with. I'm going to pull this apart and show you what comes out of a laptop, even though you probably already know. Some do, some don't. And then do the best I can to get all the gold in small batches and see what exactly comes of a laptop. Once I've done this, and if I'm able to do it, it'll be a challenge, but if I'm able to pull it off, then I'll do the same thing with the desktop computer. So here we go. I'm going to get started on this Asus laptop. I don't know what size it is. I don't know if that tells anybody details of what it is. On the back it just says ASUS. On the back here, is that upside down? No, that's the right way up. I haven't got my reading glasses on, so I don't know if you can see those details and if they mean anything to you. I'm as computer illiterate as they come. I have trouble using the computer just to make videos, so I'm really not that good at telling you what this consists of. Alright, so sorry about the light. I'll take this. There we go. I don't know if it's going to help you or not. Alrighty, so we'll get stuck into it. I bought some of these tubs the other day for storage. I'm going to use the compartments to store everything that comes from the laptop. So everything that goes in here will be from one laptop. Alright, keep it all in one place so it doesn't get mixed up with everything else I've got going on. Well, I started with the screen, and the only thing that was on there was this board, and this is a little board where the camera is that was at the top. There's gold on the board, there's also a little IC chip, there's the camera there, and there's gold at the back of the board. And then on this here I've got these tabs, which I'm still yet to really believe there's gold in, even though I made a video of it, because I didn't treat the gold that's on here, which comes off the screen. Long story, watch the video, you'll see. So I'm going to leave those on there just in case. And there's IC chips on there, or BGA chips on there, IC chip there. I'm going to take these MLCCs off. They're not going to be included because they're not gold, they're palladium and platinum and silver. So there's also this plug which has gold wires in there, as you can see there, if I can get the focus. And also on the back, the piece of metal is gold plated. So that's it for the top half. Now I've decided what I'm going to do. It's going to make life easier for me, and it doesn't really matter what process I use as long as you get the outcome, is these type of boards. Instead of putting them in AP or Nitric or any of that sort of stuff, I'm going to just burn them when I burn the BGAs and IC chips. It won't affect the gold, it will still be there. So I'll chop it up in small pieces, I'll put it in with the IC chips and BGAs, burn the whole lot, and then I can just process them all in one hit. So I'll burn these things so you can see the gold that's shining on it, where it's come off the screen. And then likely when I take it off here, some of the gold stays on there sometimes. And this is ENEG gold anyway, which is very, very hard to treat. So one of my viewers, when I did the ENEG gold video, said he just burns them. And I think that's what I'll be doing from now on with ENEG gold, is I'll be burning it. So it just makes sense for me to put all this board, IC chips and BGA chips included. I won't even take them off. I'll just put the whole lot in and burn them all. So I'm just going to remove all these MLCCs. And all that I might soak it in hydrochloric acid first to remove any solder. And then I'll just put it in and burn them all. So that's what we've got to start with. A couple of little boards with gold on them. And a little bit of wire there. But that'll be in, I'll put it all included in the base. So now I can rip all this off and make life easier. Just carry on with the bottom part. I got the mouse pad off the front, and all that's on there is some little gold pins just there and an IC chip. Unfortunately, there's no gold on this mouse pad. Usually there is. So I've gotten down to the guts of it all. I got rid of the casing. So now I'm just down to the boards. I have this board here, It's got some gold on it, and it's also got a BGA chip. I am not even going to bother trying to get that chip off. I'm just going to put this whole thing first in hydrochloric acid to remove all the solder. Then I'm going to burn the whole thing. It's going to be much easier for me and much quicker to do things like that. And it may be a way that you guys want to do yours in future. It doesn't really matter, but so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to collect little bits like that and put them in straight in the fire. The bigger stuff I'll sort out. Now this one here, got some gold pins in there. I'll take those off and put them separate. It's got plugs here which are going to have gold pins in. Might be gold pins in there. There'll be gold pins in there. There might be some gold in these. I think they're little LEDs of some sort. Other than that, the board's pretty plain. There's an IC chip there. I'll hit that off with a chisel instead of using the heat gun on that. Some MLCCs I'll take off. As far as gold goes, it's just those plugs. I'll get those off and put them separate. And I've got the lithium battery that was in there. It's got a board with it. I can see IC chips on there, so I'll heat those up, get those off. And I doubt there's any plugs, any gold pins on this battery. I'll have a look when I get to it. And now for this board here, there's going to be gold pins all over it. All these plugs are going to have gold pins, or most of them will anyway. See some in there. There's some BGA chips, some more BGA chips, some more BGA chips, and there's IC chips there as well. There's the fan. There's no gold on the board, unfortunately. There's IC chips. There's some more pins there that'll have gold in those pins there. More IC chips, BGA chips, more gold fingers in this plug here, these plugs here. So I'll just depopulate this board. It's gone pretty quick actually. It's taken me about half an hour at best to single the whole laptop down to just what you're looking at here. So a few minutes of the heat gun will soon sort out all this. If there was gold on the board, I'd just burn the board, but there's not, so I'll heat these things up and take them off. And that's it for the gold. Should have this organised real soon. So far there's not a lot. There's a few things in there that are going to be burnt, and then some gold coated pins, but still got this board to depopulate. I've taken all the MLCCs off, so it's just a matter of getting these plugs off and the BGAs and IC chips. So it's going to be a very small batch. There is a CD drive. There's not a lot of gold in those, but I'll open it up and just do what I can anyway. And that's it now, so it's just a matter of heating this up. Inside the CD drive was this little board, so some more ICs and BGAs, some more gold pins in there, and the cord ribbon wire that was going through that has a little bit of gold on it. This other end will probably be the same. I've got to open it up to get to that. I'll show you if there's any gold in there. Inside the drive now, and you can see that there's another ribbon here which has got the pins are gold plated. Why is everything so hard when you're trying to do it one-handed? Come on, get out. Normally they just fall out. 1 second. Okay, so that plug goes in there. There's gold pins inside that. Both of those have got gold pins. The other end of this ribbon is just soldered to the board, so there's no gold pins on that. This one here and the one next to it have got gold on them. So we'll find out now what the other end of that one's like. There's nothing on either end of this, it just goes to here. But we'll open this up now and see what's in there. So I've got the inside of that off, and in front of my thumb there's a little bit of gold plating on the ribbon. And where the ribbon joins onto the laser diodes, they don't look like the deep, thick laser diodes that the expensive computer has. Some of you may or may not know what I'm talking about. These ones are just a very flat, it's going to focus, a very flat diode that's in there. I'll try and get it out and show you, but some of these I've had these that have got 3 thick, deep laser diodes. They're real good computers, and then some of them like this are just all flat. Depends how cheap the computer is. So I'll pull that apart and show you. I'm going to need a macro lens to show you because it's so small. That little square in front of my thumb there, this square of glass, you can see they're very thin. Come on, focus, there we go. There's the tiniest amount of gold there. When I pry that away from the block, it'll be the smallest little bit of gold in there. Not even worth showing you because I wouldn't be able to anyway, wouldn't focus small enough on it. That's just a block of, well, I think it's probably cast aluminium or something with this little glass diode on top of it. I can't even get it into a position to show you with the light. You can probably, yeah, you can make it out there now, a little bit of gold shining on there. So there's nothing else at the end of this ribbon apart from that. So I'll cut this bit of gold off. I'll cut that off down here. And I've been putting those into the section for things to burn. It's the easiest way. And we'll get that little diode off there, and that's it. There's another little diode there, little square one in front of my thumb. Very tiny. That's it. That's the computer pulled apart. So now, once I depopulate that, I'll go out and start burning it all. These are the 2 boards that I got from the laptop. I'm going to heat them up. You can see there's nothing in the bucket, so I can't get it mixed up with anything else. And I'm going to collect whatever I can from these boards. I'll heat them up with my heat gun and depopulate these boards so I can continue on with the process. This is everything that came out of the laptop. The IC chips and things that are to be pyrolyzed, bits of board, cameras on them and so on. It's just going to be easier. There's gold on the board, but it's just so much easier to burn everything. The IC chips that are on there, the camera that's on there, all these types of things. IC chips there. And on this pile is pins and little bits of gold on the board with no IC chips and so on. So normally I would give that a nitric bath. I'm contemplating whether I should just use a tiny bit because I'm trying to make these videos without the use of nitric, but I could put that straight into aqua regia. I think I would prefer to do a nitric bath, even if it's only like 5 or 10 mils. If I'm using a small amount, then that's manageable for people. If I put it straight into Aqua Regia, I'm going to have copper and steel and all kinds of things in the mix. And I don't want to make it harder for people, because that makes it more complicated. I think what I'll do is I'll put all this in a nitric bath. I'll just use a minimal amount of nitric acid. I'll burn all these, crush it all, and then the remains, once crushed, can go with whatever comes out of the nitric bath. Can all go into Aqua Regia together. There's not a lot, as you can see from my laptop. The boards are pretty small. You'd think there'd be a lot more on there, but it's really not for a laptop anyway. There's more on a desktop computer, but not laptops. So I've got a tiny tin. I'll show you. I'll put this up here. I've got a tiny little tin here. It's going to be perfect to put some bits and pieces in, to put in the fire. Now, I'm not going to just make a fire for that tiny little tin, so at the same time I will run some ICs that I've got from other jobs. I've kept all this separate so that you can see what comes from one laptop. So I'll burn this along with, you'll see in the fire, some other tins. I don't want to confuse you guys. The small tin will be all this, and the bigger tin will be making use of the fire while it's going to burn some other IC chips. I'll put that into nitric now, get that started, and while these are happening. Alright, so I've got all the small things in there. There's also BGAs in there, tiny little ones. I don't know if you can see them properly. There's one right in the middle, down in there. Normally you would do IC chips separate to BGAs, but with this tiny little amount, I'm just going to do everything together. Even those square things there with all the solder balls on them, they're BGAs as well. I'll just put everything that needs to be roasted in there. And then here I've got all the pins and stuff. I'll just put it in here to carry it outside instead of taking the big tub out there. Alright, so I'll go and get it all started. So you can see this little beaker, tiny little tiny beaker, just enough for this. I've got some distilled water in there, and I'm going to put a tiny amount. That was probably 5 mil at best. A little bit of it spilt into the outside there, so I'll get that out in a minute. Put that in there, put it on heat. That wouldn't have been any more than 10 mil at best. I'd say 5 mil roughly. I may need to put a little bit more, but as long as it's only tiny amounts that are used in these videos, that's alright. So I try not to use it at all if I can help it, but this has to be done, so we'll let that cook, and I'll get the fire started over here, and I'll get those other things burning. They're roasting away nicely in there, that little pile. That won't take long to do, and these are busily boiling away. So all's good so far. Now that they've been pyrolyzed, I'll tip them into my dolly pot, crush them up, and I'll put them in with the nitric bath that the pins are in, because there could be silver in the BGAs and the IC chips. So if there is, I'll kill 2 birds in 1 stone, and I'll get the silver out as well. So I'll crush that now. You can see that's broken down well. The boards aren't broken up, that's okay. All the dust, all the IC chips and BGAs are all broken. That's what matters. So now I'll tip that into the nitric bath. The solution has finished the nitric bath. I just tested to see if there's any silver, and there wasn't. I don't understand why, because the BGAs should definitely have silver. The IC should have some. But anyway, I'll filter this off now, and we can start dissolving the gold. The filtering has been finished, it's all done, and I'll put it in with some hydrochloric acid and bleach to make real poor man's aqua regia. I need to make up some copper as to drop the gold because I've run out of SMB, and I've got quite a bit here because I need to make a large batch, as I'll have some extra some other batches that I will need to drop in the next few days. I've got 3 or 4 batches happening at once. Now, the first time I tried making copper as, I just poured the water in, dissolved it all, and then let it sit while I was filtering, because you've got to filter it afterwards. You can't use it like that. There's iron filings in there and all sorts of things. So I had a second beaker with a funnel and a filter. I poured some in, and then I let this sit, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made because it went rock hard in the bottom. So ever since then, I mean, most people you would use a stirrer hot plate. I don't have one, so I've got a stirring rod here, and I'm just going to have to constantly stir it. You can let it sit for a second or two, then stir it, but I wouldn't let it sit for any more than 20 or 30 seconds, maybe a minute at best. So that's what I choose to do. Maybe you don't have to, I don't know, but I'm not going to make the mistake again because I couldn't get it out of the beaker. It just sat hard in the bottom. I think I lost my beaker for it. So I put water in there. Now this beaker is 2 litres, and the writing has come off this beaker, so that's not going to help me a whole lot. I'll probably just go up to about here somewhere, and just keep stirring that while I have some of it filtering. I've got a funnel here ready to go, and I use hot water. I find it dissolves a lot easier. Maybe you could use cold, I don't know. That should be enough. And just going to stir it all. So I'm going to carry on doing this, and once it's finished filtering, I'll go out and drop the gold and see what we got. Now I should add that according to the book of Refining Precious Metals by Sim Hoax, apparently that you're supposed to put hydrochloric acid in with the solution until it turns green. Now I have used it just like it is, once it's been filtered that is, without putting hydrochloric acid in, and it worked fine. I got all the gold out that I needed because I had no hydrochloric acid at the time. But when I do have hydrochloric acid, I put some in there anyway, just because it says to in the book, and I'm sure they know more than I do. So if you don't have any hydrochloric acid and you can get hold of some ferrous sulfate, I would like to guess that you will be fine to use it without adding hydrochloric acid. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Like I said, it says in the book you got to do it, but I know that I've had success without having hydrochloric acid added. So I just thought I'd point that out to you. Alright, so I put it in this tall form, it's a small beaker, but it's a tall form beaker, and I dropped it with some copper as. The gold is settling down, and I'm hoping to dry it at the same time, just using the residual heat from this hot plate, because I've got other things on the hot plate, and then we'll see how much is there, but there's not going to be a lot. As I was saying in my last video, I'm so happy that I can finally get 2 of these finished. It's taken me so long because of the weather, the heat, to get anything done, and I managed to get 1 done. That was the last video, and now we've got this gold here. There's actually, Well, it looks like a little bit more than what I thought, but it's impure, so don't complain about the dirty beaker. It's only the first drop. It has to be refined anyway, but it's certainly nice looking gold. And I'm going to collect all the gold from different videos and then do one big refine at the end and melt it at the end. So anyway, we'll see if we can get a weight on it.
Yeah.
There's still some stuck in the beaker. That's normal. I tried to scrape off what I could.
Yeah.
Wow, that is more than I thought. 3 grams from one computer, from one little laptop actually. That's it's quite good. I know some of you were probably expecting a lot more than 3 grams, but it's some common misbelief. People don't realise you need so much e-waste to be able to make some money. I don't even bother. This is the only time I've ever tried collecting gold from one computer because there's just no point. I usually do 10, 15 computers before I collect the gold. So anyway, I'm glad I finally got these 2 videos knocked over. Sorry it's taken so long. There are more to come. I hope you are enjoying this series of little or no nitric used. And please give me your comments. If there's anything you want to see, let me know. And I don't know when the next video will be ready. I'll try and get it done as soon as I can. But until then, thanks for watching. Be safe. I'll see you on the next one.